All right, what's going on, y'all? Shawn of Back to Basics Fitness here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I am well, I'm always excited to do these webinars. I'm excited today because what I'm going to talk about in this webinar is stuff about fitness, about transforming your body that I think a lot of people aren't really and truly aware of. Um, I'm going to talk about some things that cause people to not really get results. And here's the deal, we all want results. Otherwise we wouldn't necessarily be doing exercise or any other activity. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. That's what we're going to talk about today. There will be an opportunity to ask questions. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll wait till the end. Sometimes I may answer them in the middle, but I'd for sure take some time at the end to answer questions and whatnot. All right. So today we are talking about what it takes what it really takes to create a new body. Okay. Um. Yeah. So let's get into this. Give me a second. I want to share this presentation. All right. So yes, what it really takes to create a new body. All right. So first thing I want to do is ask you a question. Is this you? Now, when you observe this picture, what do you see? Um, Basically, what we have here is an SUV that is stuck in mud. The front is more stuck than the back, but regardless, this vehicle doesn't appear like it's going anywhere. You can imagine you're in the driver's seat and you hit the gas and you're doing nothing but this. Tires just a spinning, 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 spinning. And to be honest, this is what a lot of us are doing. This is where a lot of us are in our fitness journey. Like we've gotten gym memberships, we've gotten diet books, we may have joined fitness classes, uh, and the list goes on and on. We might be getting different types of, you know, healthy foods and health products and supplements and all this kind of stuff. And nothing is working. Like you may have seen a little bit of poundage lost, or you may have seen a little bit of results, if anything, but for the most part, you're not getting any results. This is a lot of us right now in our fitness journey. If this is you, what I'm going to talk about today, if you will hear it, it's going to help you to become unstuck. And it's going to help you to do what you've wanted to do all this time, which is to create a new body. And when I say new body, I mean the body that you want to have, a body that is more trim, toned, as we like to say, perhaps muscular, sculpted, and then more important than all those kind of things, healthy as well. Okay. So we're going to talk about three things today that it will take for you to create this new body. The first thing is being hungry. Now, before you draw conclusions, let me talk about what I mean. A lot of the reason that we deal with weight issues in particular is because of the fact that foods that we eat in our society, especially, are addictive. Unhealthy foods are addictive. I'm talking about packaged foods, ultra processed foods. That's the technical term, ultra processed foods. Foods that are very far from their natural state, foods that have preservatives and various chemicals to extend the shelf life, to make the texture and the taste and all that kind of stuff very, very particular, not for any health reason, but instead to make them, more how shall we say it? Lucrative for the creator, like to make them more money because you want to get them and you want to keep on coming back. The saying, bet you just can't eat one. You know what chip company that is. So this is why a lot of us are dealing with weight issues and even health issues as well, because junk foods are so unhealthy. That said, if you want to create a new body, create a dream body, so to speak, feeling good, being actually healthy, and even looking good, you have to plan to be hungry sometimes. Now, when I say hungry, I have to specify because a lot of us don't know what real hunger is. You don't really know what real hunger is unless you had to go without food for many days. Okay, and really in our society in America, we don't really know what that's like. But when I talk about being hungry, what I'm mainly talking about is you have to have sometimes, you know, on a daily basis, um, or at least every few days or something, where you are actually going without food, where you're not necessarily eating. We live in a society where we are surrounded not only by um we have restaurants everywhere, but it's fast food, food that you can get very quickly, whether it be fast food restaurants or convenience store type food, all this stuff. And we typically in America will eat the average person probably eat 3 meals a day. But at the same time, that's not all they're eating. They're also eating between meals. They're also drinking drinks all day. They're constantly munching on something, sipping on something, and eating the regular meals. What happens is because we are grazing, we are always in fat storage mode. We are our bodies literally by virtue of a hormone called insulin that always spikes up whenever we eat these these various foods. Because of insulin having to be secreted, we're always in fat storage mode, fat gain mode, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And so only when your blood sugar is allowed to come down and consequently your insulin is allowed to come down, does your body actually start to get into fat loss mode. Okay. Because your insulin is down, that means that your body's not needing to store anything. And so you actually start to get to a place where your body can start to use its own storage. Most of us don't really go hungry. We don't know what hunger is, but then we don't even have time, substantial time between meals where we're hungry, except for maybe when we go to sleep at night. That's not what you want. Now, let me say this too before I move to the next point. It is true that there's a way that you can eat throughout the day and lose weight. But I will say it makes it probably a little bit more challenging to lose weight. And then also, there's an added benefit whenever you're not snacking all the time of your body being able to go to its own resources. There's a phrase that's become pretty popular these days, autophagy, which is the process that your body's cells use to get rid of old cells, diseased cells, dysfunctional cells. And among those is like, for example, when people lose a lot of weight, your skin necessarily needs to retract. And a lot of times, uh, allowing yourself to get hungry between meals will allow your body to kind of get rid of some of that excess skin a little easier. At least that's what studies have shown. Okay. So you need to plan to be hungry sometimes if you really want to create your dream body. Number two, you want to create a new body, create your dream body, you need to do enough exercise, which of course leads to the question, what is enough? Let me say this. A lot of people are consistent. Consistency, I always say, is the main thing that you need to be doing when it comes to exercising or anything for that matter, because it's only what you consistently present before your body that you consistently are doing that will cause your body to change on a more permanent basis. A lot of people are going and they're just doing something a couple of times, and your body doesn't even know yet that it needs to adapt to that. Okay. So, given that you're consistent, if you're still not seeing results, sometimes, not every situation, but in a lot of cases, you may not be doing enough. For example, let's say you are a person that goes and you go to a nearby track and you walk 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week. Great. That's great. I salute you. If you're not seeing results, then it could end up not being enough. Now, keep in mind, you need to change your diet too. That's a big one as well, which we kind of address in number one. But sometimes people are just not doing enough to change their bodies. Okay. Sometimes 30 minutes, 3 days a week of walking, which is great for your cardiovascular system, excuse me, it just may not be enough to change your body. So when I was studying to be a personal trainer, one thing I learned from the American College of Sports Medicine is that their recommendation is that if you want to maintain, you need to be doing uh 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise a day. That's like walking or something, pretty brisk walking. 5 days a week, 30 minutes each day to maintain. If you want to lose, then they say you need to bump that up to at least 50 minutes 5 days a week or 250 minutes of moderate intensity exercise a week. Okay. That's the minimum. 50 minutes, so almost an hour a day for most days of the week, 5 days a week. Okay. Now, if you're not doing that, then you might want to consider going further, or to the very least, you need to perhaps consider increasing your exercise amount until you start to see a change. Now, I will say this as well, even though I'm a personal trainer and I promote exercise, I love exercise and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't just include exercise. Okay. It's this is talking about how active are you in general in your life. How active are you? Are you being active in your life? Are you is the only activity when you walk from your house to your car, from your car to your job, from your job to your car, and then from your car to your house again? If that's it, find a way to be more active. Make your life necessarily more active, where you have to be more active, if that makes sense. So you may not be doing enough. You may be going to the gym and you might be lifting those 5 pound weights, and you may even be huffing and puffing, but then your muscles seem a little bit changed, but not really the same. You might not really be going intense enough. If you're not going to, for example, where you have a burn or where you can't lift anymore, or something like that, you may need to consider that. Okay. And number three, last but not least, you need to be strength training. In other words, doing something with resistance where your muscles have to push against some sort of resistance, push or pull against resistance for the purpose of building and maintaining muscle mass. Okay. Now, why is this important in creating a new body? The reason why this is important is because a lot of people are focusing only on cardio. That's all you're focusing on. Well, what happens is when you, especially even if you do a whole lot of cardio, for example, if you go do train for a marathon, half marathon, something like that, you're going to lose weight. It's just the thing is because your body is seeking to become more efficient at running. One of the things with a lot of cardio like running is that your body is not just going to shed fat, it's going to shed muscle as well because it's trying to become efficient at running. And so it doesn't, so your body calculates that it doesn't really need extra muscle. So you end up becoming like a smaller version of yourself, but then you may not necessarily even look sculpted. You may not necessarily look like you're in better shape per se, if that makes sense. You may have a smaller mass, but like that's like lean body mass and fat mass that you've lost. You don't want that. This is also important because as we get older, we tend to lose muscle, especially when we don't use it. Okay, it's called sarcopenia. In the more extreme cases, especially when people live a standard American lifestyle where you sit down pretty much all day long, then this starts to lead to bad posture. It ultimately can lead to like some of the hip fractures that people tend to have because they're not able to lift their legs as much when they walk. They're more unstable when they walk and stuff like that, having difficulty getting up out of a chair, having difficulty climbing stairs, um, or even descending stairs, different things like that. If you're not giving your muscles a reason to still be there, especially as you age, you're going to lose them. But also in terms of sculpting, if you were lifting weights, and this is just like pumping iron, so this is also calisthenics body weight exercise, which is like kind of like my bread and butter, my foundation. Push-ups, pull-ups, body weight squats, chin-ups, dips, all those kind of things. If you're doing those types of things and you've adjusted your diet, to a healthier diet, and maybe you kind of put in some cardio in there, especially if you do more high intensity cardio, then what will happen is that the most of the weight that you lose will be fat. You will preserve muscle. Sometimes you can even build muscle while you're losing fat, especially if you're like a newbie. And what that will produce is like more of a sculpting effect. So you become more lean, more trim, more athletic, a more athletic physique, functional physique. This is what you want. A lot of times people don't realize this is what they want, but this is what you want. You don't want to lose your muscle because then you have a soft appearance, as in like you are not sculpted. A lot of people don't realize you want a sculpted physique. You don't want to just lose any kind of weight. You want to lose fat mass, extra fat mass. Okay. Very important. All right. Now, this leads to this challenge that I've created. I created just before the year started. It's called Jumpstart Fat Loss Challenge. Notice fat loss. I'm focusing on the fat. I've created this challenge 30 days that will enable you to lose fat while preserving, perhaps even gaining some muscle. I give you the eating strategies. I give you video workouts. So there's no guesswork. I give you the video workouts and I give you a basic cardio schedule specifically for beginner level. You don't have to come in trying to guess anything. I give it all to you. You follow it for 30 days, you sculpt your body, you burn fat. Okay? It's only $99. You can get this now and get started on your 30 days. I'm looking for people who are ready to be committed to 30 days though. You're ready to be committed to 30 days. If you're interested, you can go to the QR code and I'm going to put the link in the chat. So it's also accessible there for people who would rather, copy and paste the link. Okay. I'm looking for people who are actually going to follow 30 days. All right. Give me a second. All right, there we go. All right, so now I'll open the floor for questions. If there's anyone here who has any questions about anything I've talked about on how to sculpt and create a new body, this is your time to ask. Questions about anything with fat loss, building muscle, questions about the 3 points I gave, you know, what do you mean to be, I need to be hungry? What do you mean not doing enough exercise? What kind of strength training will work for me? Whatever. This is your opportunity. Keep this in mind too, y'all. As I get ready to wrap this up, it really all has to start in your head. It has to start with whatever you believe. And it sounds probably a little sappy and a little, of course, you would say that kind of, I don't know, but it's just true. A lot of times people don't really get any results because they don't really believe that they can. And that's just the plain and simple truth. They don't think that they think that getting sculpted is for that person who they saw who transformed their body, not realizing that that person is probably just like them. They just made a decision. Okay, so you got to believe, man. You got to believe. You got to actually know that your body can change. Your body is really just waiting on you. It's waiting on you because your body is always looking to respond to whatever you do, especially whatever you do consistently. So keep that in mind, okay? All right. So good webinar. Thank you for those of you who popped in. I definitely appreciate it. If you want me to talk about something in particular as pertains to fat loss, fitness, calisthenics, strength training, cardio, whatever, let me know in the comment section. Um, whenever you watch this video. But otherwise, thank you for joining. Have a great day. And as I always say, remember your doctor's not responsible for your health. You are. Have a blessed day.